Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. As you know, in Japan, GLEAT just had their much recent event collaborating with Japanese promotion DDT Pro Wrestling. Yes, guys, this is a very interesting one. So, we're going to see a mix-up of wrestlers from both GLEAT and DDT, and I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. But we also going to have TNA. Don't worry. As you all know, we are now on the road to against all odds. A lot of battle lines have been drawn, but the real question is what's going to happen as soon as we get there? Well, we'll find out. So we do have some interesting matches also taking place. And then of course we have Ring of Honor. We do have the World Television title on the line, a program match and very interesting matches as well. But first things first, as you know, Mighty Gold continues with their latest tour with the Grand Opening Wars, and they just had a recent show on the 2nd of June. This is day 3 of this tour, so this is gonna be interesting. So we will talk about from all their matches from A to Z, as you all know. And then after that, we'll cap up this episode with some news updates, giving you guys updates what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, booked, what matches are set, including some update developments going around in the world of pro wrestling that we need to talk about. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Leaded Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Leaded Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also do the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be gaining a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have now been set aside. I believe it's time to get this show on the road. It's time to rock and roll. So, our very first review, let's begin with MARIGOLD. Okay, MARIGOLD. This is one of their much recent events that took place back on June 2nd. This is part of the Grand Opening Wars, and this is day 3. Now, we already reviewed day 1 and day 2. Now, it opened up with, of course, with the ring announcer doing her job and then introducing Julia. Now, don't forget, guys, Julia is still out of action after injuring herself back on May 20th. But however, I did mention this before during a news updates that Julia is now saying she is moving her fingers, which is excellent news. So it looks like she is in excellent progress, knowing that she is on getting on her full recovery. So we will wait for the anticipation of her return. Nonetheless, I think many of you will be excited to see her back again. Now, let's begin with our very first match. We have Myla Grace versus Chika Goto. Now, as I mentioned before, I think since these ladies from At Risk left the promotion, I feel that they have now are unleashing more about their pro wrestling skills to the world. Remember, they weren't allowed to go outside to other promotions because of this. But I have to say, Chika Goto really showed the fan base what she can do instead of what she was known back in her previous job. But I have to say she did a pretty good job doing that too. Myla Grace, well, I have to say she is a fun girl, but unfortunately it was Chika Goto who picked up the win with a, I don't know what kind of move, but it looked more like a slam into the mat, and just like that she picked up a pretty good win. Now our next match, we have Nagisa Nozaki versus Chiaki. Now, what can I say about this match? Now, Chiaki really impressed me in her match against Mirai back on May 20th. So you would think that this would be any different against someone like, of course, Nozaki, who's been well known. However, Nozaki has changed in attitude since her return from injury, which is okay. But however, how will Chiaki have to deal with her? Well, you may never know. But Nozaki applied a sleeper hold on her, and just like that, it seems like there was no escaping Nozaki's grip, and it was completely over from there. Now, our next match, we have Mitsa Matsui taking on Passion Nanane Takahashi. So, now I like to think ever since these matches take place with, I think since day one all the way to now, that Nana Takahashi was getting a feel out of everyone who used to be an at-risk girls. Now, don't get me wrong. I feel like she is a veteran. She knows what she's doing. But feeling what these girls can do. Don't forget, these girls wanted to be pro wrestlers before they became what they were told to be, like actress as wrestlers. But now we're seeing what they can do. And I feel like Nana Takahashi has been evaluating them. But nonetheless, Mitsa Matsui is a name I've heard plenty of times. But nonetheless, Nana Takahashi once again picked up a good win. And then, of course, she did a promo. Now, I don't know what she's saying. I wish someone could have put some translation. I mean, Sonny is right there, even though he's a total moron from what people were saying. But nonetheless, we will never know. But I feel like she gave a good evaluation towards Mitsa, and it's great to hear from it. But we'll see what happens from here on out. Now, our next match is a tag team match. We have Zeta Steel and Bozilla taking on Mai Sakurai and Mirai. Now, it's interesting how Zeta Steel teams up with Bozilla. Now, Bozilla, I can tell she is not an easy person to team up with, but she was okay teaming with Sareee for some odd reason. But she had to be more careful not to piss off a giant. That's the thing that you don't need. But it's great to see Mai Sakurai and Mirai team up once again. Don't forget, these two ladies were members of DDM, and they grown fond together. Now, don't try to say, is this like a somewhat reunion between DDM from... No, this is just two wrestlers just teaming up. But the obvious factor in this match, you would say, okay, Bozilla, how do you feed a giant? Well, that is an excellent question. You know for a fact with a giant, there is no way anybody could put her down. So the only way to ensure you can pick up a good win is by the other factor of the match, Zeta Steel. So you would think Zeta Steel was going to be the one to take the fall. Well, she did, because Zeta ended up in the mirror by Mirai and was forced to tap out. And then all hell broke loose because I have to say, Bozilla doesn't like to lose at all. So she attacked Zeta Steel. The rookies tried to stop her, but to no avail, it didn't work at all. And of course, what was Mirai and Sakurai doing? Well, they're just cowering on the other side of the ring, doing nothing. I mean, they could have helped Zeta Steel, and I mean, I thought my Sakurai said that she was good friends with her. Well, it turns out she's not her friend. I'm sure Zeta Steel will get revenge for that at some point. And of course, we did see a promo between Masakurai and Mirai, and I don't know what they said. So, moving on to our main event, we have Natsumi Shozaki and Miku Inoue. They take on Victoria Yuzuki and Utami Hayashida. Now, I have to say there's something interesting in this match for me. Utami Hayashida is determined to become the ace of MARIGOLD. That's her determination. But Miku Inoue is someone you don't want to be in the crosshairs. She's been a force to be reckoned with, and I have to say she has shown promising since arriving. That's one of the things many people have highly spoken of her. So you would think, okay, the obvious question we ask ourselves, who would be the first ever MARIGOLD World Champion? I would say Miku Inoue could be one of those people that could be on the list of potentials. I would say Utami as well. Bozilla already put herself on the map, even Sareee, I don't know who else. But nonetheless, that is something we could expect down the line. But in the end of this match, it was, of course, Miku Inoue who picked up the win by applying a somewhat of a suplex onto Victoria Yuzuki, giving the win. So I have to say, we could be seeing a battle who will be at the top of the food chain in MARIGOLD, and that is something we got to pay attention to. So we'll see as we go from here on out. So right now, I think we are done with this particular review. Let's move on with GLEAT and DDT. Okay, GLEAT collaborating with DDT. So yes, it's not uncommon that we have seen various promotions they like to collaborate, especially within their own continent. For example, we are having three promotions here in the States collaborating real soon. That is, of course, West Coast Pro, Deadlock Pro Wrestling, and Prestige. But having GLEAT and DDT, that's a whole different level now because they have two different um, flavors in their own way. Now, let's begin to see how this begins. We have our first match, which is a trios three-way match. Team number one, we have the guys from the Yans family, Issa Onitsuka and leader Takanori Ito. They team up with Shun Katsumura from 37 Kamina, which is a very interesting combination. And I feel the guy could fit perfectly with those guys. He's like an honorary member, so you would think it would be a lot of fun. They take on against Yu Ichikawa, Bicycle Kengo, which is played by Keigo Nakamura, and then there's Michi Man, played by Michiko. And they also face against Jun Tonsho and Makoto Oishi, and along with the one person you don't want to be around, that is Danshuko Dino. Now, why do I say that I don't want to be around him? Simple. Danshuko, it has a tendency to kiss men in the lips and has a tendency to show his ass. That's the last thing you need to be around. Of course, I mean, if you don't believe me, ask Shun Katsumata. He had a deal with him too many times. I mean, I'll never forget the time he got kissed in the mouth by him during a press conference while his former tag partner and current AW star Takeshita was just sitting there letting him get in so much in this situation. But it did. But however, Jun Toncho was not having it with Dino, but for some odd reason he just gave in. I'm like, oh boy, GLEAT has a problem. But it did not do any well for them because it was, of course, Katsumata who finished the job with a big splash onto Oshi, and just like that, they pick up the win. So, nonetheless, it was completely over. But you did see, of course, Dino's ass. He didn't want to do it, but Oishi told him, do it. But it didn't do any well for him. Now, our next match, we have Kazuki Irada taking on Minoru Tanaka. Now, those who know Irada, he's the guy with the sunglasses that wants to dance. Well, I don't know how this thing would work with him and Minoru Tanaka. I mean, it kind of worked, but it didn't because it was, of course, a double foot stomp by Tanaka to put away Hirata just like that. Our next match, we have two Somas teaming up together. We have Soma Watanabe and Soma Takoa taking on Harashima and Shima. What a weird combination. Harashima and Shima. Huh. But don't get me wrong, both teams were great. I'm not gonna lie. But I was like wondering how like you ask yourselves, okay, there's two Somas, how can you tell? Well, it's gonna be interesting, but I have to say it was a pretty good, impressive match. But I did like the cohesion from both teams. But if I have to pick the one that really felt the more cohesion is Harashima and Shima. Shima did a Meteora, and then of course Shima did a running Meteora, and then later it was Harashima with the running knee onto who was it? On Takoa, picking up the win. Now we got the battle of Tetsuyas. Oh boy, this is a big headache. We have Tetsuya Izushi from Black what's it called? Black Generation International, and of course Tetsuya Endo. I thought this match was gonna be a real interesting. I mean, Tetsuya Izushi with this new attitude as a member of BGI, of course, is gonna play out. But nonetheless, Tetsuya Endo shows why he is one of the top guys in DDT. He applied a Spanish fly into a pinfall, winning this match. Now, Endo tried to show respect to Izushi, but Izushi left and then flipped him off. So, yeah, you can't be friends with this guy whatsoever. Next up, we have tag team action. We have Kazuma Sumi and Toi. They take on Takuma and SBK. Really awesome match. I thought it was really fun. And of course, but the one thing that was interesting is Sumi and Toi. Toi is a member of 37 Kamina. Teaming up with a guy who's not part of the unit, it would probably play out that way. But nonetheless, the cohesion goes to Takuma and SBK since they are a suitable synchronized team. And it was, of course, Takuma with the 630 that finished off Sumi to pick up the win for him and his tag team partner. Now, our next match, we have El Lindaman, Mao, and Yuki Ueno from 37 Kamina. El Lindaman's Stronghearts. They take on Kaz Hayashi, Hakito, and Fire! Hey! Hey, hey, hey! Yep, the boss of DDT, Shinjiro Tagaki. So, you would think this is going to be a real interesting match. El Lindaman had to say he had the balls to take on Tagaki. I mean, Tagaki, he is the kind of guy who doesn't take any crap from anybody. Especially a guy like El Lindaman, if that was the case. But unfortunately, this match ended with a impressive super kick by Mao onto Akito, giving the win. However, in the post-match, we did see Mao do a little promo calling out Kaz Hayashi. So I'm going to presume that he's putting his belt on the line against him. So I'm going to see exactly how that is. I know Hayashi accepted it, but that's going to be a very, very interesting match to pay attention. Now, our next match is an elimination I think a 10-man elimination tag team match. Let me pull something out real quick involving this one in particular. Alright, so here's who we had from both sides of the spectrum. Team number one, we have the guys from Strongheart, consistent of Seiki Yoshioka, Takehiro Yamamura, and of course T-Hawk. They team up with the guys from Chris Brooks and Takeshi Masada. Now they take their opponents are members from BGI, consistent of Kotaro Suzuki, Hartley Jackson, and Kato Ishida. They team up with the guys from Damnation TA, consistent of Kanon and Daisuke Sasaki. So yeah, that's how it rolls up from there. Now, it's a little confusion, but here's how the order of the elimination went down. So bear with me, people, because I'm looking at this in my phone. It was Yamamura who was eliminated by Suzuki. Then Sasaki, and then there it was Yoshioka who gets eliminated by Sasaki, and then Suzuki gets eliminated by T-Hawk, and then Kano gets eliminated. I'm going to presume he gets eliminated over the ring. Then, of course, Hartley Jackson got eliminated by Chris Brooks. Then Chris Brooks gets himself eliminated by Sasaki. And then, of course, T-Hawk gets eliminated by Sasaki. Then Sasaki gets eliminated by Masada. But it was Kato Ishida who picked up the win with a German suplex on Masada. So basically, you can tell that it was the heels that walked away with the win. So that's what initially it was. Now, our main event, we have a very impressive trios match. We have Yuki Ino, Yukio Naya, and Kazusada Higuchi. They take on the members of Bulk Orchestra, consistent of Kazuma Sakamoto, the leader, Ryuichi Kawakami, and our current G-Rex champion, Hayato Tamura. So this was going to be an interesting match. Now, I know in some factors, people would say Bulk Orchestra has the field advantage since they are the top guys of course, of GLEAT. But however, you see DDT has their own guys as well. But surprise, surprise, I did not expect this. It was Yuki Ino who picked up the win by sparing Tamura. So this was a surprise victory. However, this led to very interesting. Ino called out Tamura, and I wouldn't be surprised that he issued the challenge for the G-Rex title. Now, if I'm Tamura, if I was GLEAT, I would be concerned knowing that this title could be up in stakes if they lose it to an outsider. Now, they haven't had any outsider win this belt just yet. We did see the G Infinity belts lost to outsiders, and those guys were in fact the Saito brothers. So we'll see how this will rolls up as we go. So hopefully till next time. But as of right now, let's move on with our next review, and that is TNA. Alright, TNA. I failed to mention this just now because it was the 20th anniversary. Yeah, I forgot about that. But anyway, that's an important moment for these guys. I'm happy. I mean, I've been a TNA fan since I first saw them back years ago. But nonetheless, this is today. Now, our first match, we have Khan taking on Jake Something. Now, this mess happened last week when, of course, Khan was looking for a Santino, but he ran into Jake Something, and of course, this led to this match. But this was a hoss fight if you don't see one. So the honest question is, who will walk out? So you would think that was going to be a bigger question, but it was Jake Something who was able to apply the Into the Void on him, picking up an impressive win. However, Khan, who is a sore loser, snapped and decided he was going to snap Jake Something's neck. But Eric Young showed up to make the save. So he put out a promo about his 20th, about celebrating 20 years of TNA. And I think it's a great moment. I think that's what fans needed to hear from an OG. Now, Gia Miller conducts an interview with Frankie Kazarian because at the end of the night it was revealed that he would face Nick Mendes on the behest of the system. Now, Frankie Kazarian is the kind of person who declares himself as the king of television. Gia Miller just asked the question, why is the king taking orders from the system? They took Frankie took a big offense towards that, and so did the system. That this has nothing to do, him bowing. It's more of the neutral understanding of each other. However, Frankie Kazarian said if he takes care of the Nick Mendes problem, he'll get a shot of course, of the TNA World Title, and it could happen. Now, we did see another interview after this one with Gia Miller. She talks to Steph Landers. Now, about 3 weeks ago, we did see what happened with, of course, Steph Landers and PCO. That's always been the question. And, of course, we saw what happened with, he gave like a Valentine's Day card or something. So she wanted to know what is going on here. What's the deal? So I don't know. Will she respond to it? And then Zaya Brookside showed up acting like, oh, it's a fairy tale, that sort of thing. But I don't think Steph Delander just wants her to get involved in her business with PCO. I'm sure Steph Delander's confused and all that, but we'll see. Now, our next match, she's back. The quintessential knockout is back. Giselle Shaw. She takes on Shaza McKenzie. And of course, we've been seeing her made her return. We know that Gail Kim has high expectations towards her. Gail Kim did told her, you don't need people around you to win. So basically, she's trying to guide her, be that person that you're supposed to be. You don't need people that would help you out. And she did all of that by herself when she applied a knee strike on McKenzie, giving her a good win. So we could definitely see her on the road to become TNA Knockouts World Champion in the near future. Now, Rosemary put out a very interesting video promo. I kind of got lost about it, but I don't know. I feel like she's sending cryptic message. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Now, last week we did not see a decisive win between Steve Maclin and Mike Santana. Now, Maclin is pissed that he didn't get to finish this whole thing with Santana. However, he proposing him for one thing, to take out the Rascals. Now, he's not saying you and I are going to be permanent tag partners. This is just one time. Let's get rid of the problem. You and I, we settled this right. So Mike Santana, who has been keen on having tag team partners, he was not happy with it, but at the same time, he understands Maclin that this is not a permanent solution. He understands you want to do things on your own. I am doing things on my own. So we could see how that works. So if I'm the Rascals, watch out. Now, as you know, our current X Division, the so-called Trust Ali, faces against Trent 7. However, we do see Mustafa Ali teams up with Raj Singh, taking on both members of Speedball Mountain. It was a great match. I thought it was awesome, hard-hitting, but those scumbags of Secret Service got underway once again. However, Trent 7 stopped Mustafa Ali dead in his tracks, and he left Raj Singh high and dry until he pinned him 1, 2, 3. But the real question now is Mustafa Ali. Is his title reign now in jeopardy? Well, that is the excellent question. I think Mustafa Ali is now realizing this is not a guy you don't want to mess with. He is not a guy that you think you know him like you think you know. So I think that's the beneficial question. So we'll see. Now, before our TNA Knockouts World Championship match, that one stooge, the Cushion Larry, whatever he is, Ash by Elegance, was there. She showed up, of course, ringside to watch this match. It's no secret that she's been gunning for the TNA Knockouts title, but she hasn't done anything to try to say she earned it or deserved it. I'm sure that weasel of her stooge would try. But however, Jordynne Grace has to defend her belt, and people are still talking about the buzz that will happen at Battleground this Sunday. That there is the chance that she could come back as double champion. That's the thing we are expecting. But she has to go through Allison Kay for that. Now, don't forget, Allison Kay attacked her last week, and that pretty much sets the whole thing up. But however, of course, where Allison Kay is at, Marty Bell will be there too. She even got involved, but luckily Jordynne Grace wiped her out. And then the Juggernaut Driver was right there. But of course, you probably think Ash by Elegance would try something. She knows that she's not facing no slouch. I think in the beginning she was not happy that she is still champion. She was just hoping someone should just take that belt off her so I can win it. But I think maybe Ash by Elegance is trying to think, okay, maybe I have to think outside here. Now, a very fun little segment just took place. Well, not in the ring, but in the back. Deathmatch Television, brought to you by Savvy Callahan. So, the topic of the day is Jonathan Gresham. Yeah, so basically he has a problem with them after what happened last time. So he's calling him out at against all odds. But how will Gresham actually respond? That is something we have to wait and see. Now our next match, we have the TNA Digital Media title. Now, AJ Francis, who recently who watched the Champions Challenge not too long, about 3 weeks ago, he said that he has a title in mind, and then he chose the Digital Media belt against Laredo Kid, and of course he attacked him and all this in the back a week ago, and now this is what this match. But of course, in this match, Swan was going to get involved, but it did not do any good for him. However, it did not do any well for Laredo Kid because he wasted much of his time on Swan, leaving AJ Francis to apply a chokeslam, what he calls now the down payment, becoming the brand new Digital Media champion. Now our main event, Frankie Kazarian versus Nick Menneth. Of course, Frankie Kazarian would love to take him out so he can get a shot of the TNA World title, but Nick Menneth is determined to win this match, and then he did apply the Danger Zone. It took him at least a few tries to try it, and it was over. And then post-match, the System showed up out of nowhere, and then Ryan Menneth, then Moose, and then Jordan Hendry. But however, they were completely wiped out. And then at the end of the programming, Matt Hardy, who seems that he didn't take the injury well because nothing was broken with him, is calling out the System to his Hardy compound. And of course they did. I can't wait to see how these fools are going to deal with the Hardy compound. That's going to be fun. So, we'll just got to wait and see until then. But for right now, we are done with TNA. Let's move on with our last and final review, Ring of Honor. Okay, Ring of Honor, our last review. We opened up with Queen Aminata versus Maserati. Now, Maserati is no stranger with Ring of Honor, if for those who don't know, according to Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman. So, nonetheless, this match, as you know, serves like a motivational match because Queen Aminata has one title in her mind, and that is the women's world title that Athena has in her possession. So we will see that. But Queen Aminata, I believe, is sending a direct message to none other to Athena when she applied the air raid crash, giving her a good win. Now, we do see a bit of an interview with Lexi Neer. She talks to Dalton Castle ahead of his World Television title match. However, once again, the person who's been a pain in his behind, John ETV, showed up, accusing him that he stole his sunglasses. You know, the policeman's sunglasses. Well, Dalton Castle said he had no clue about those, but he did state it that if he did win the television title, he'll give him a title shot. Now, Johnny TV would think, okay, he may be delusional, but nonetheless, why not? But anyway, let's move on. We have the problem, Marina Shafir making her presence, facing against, of course, Amina. Now you would think this match, the problem just took it out. Yes, she did with a submission. Just like that, it was completely over. Now our next match is the ROH World Television Title match. Dalton Castle faces against Kyle Fletcher. Now I have to say, what an incredible match. Now Dalton Castle, he showed such, you know, fighting spirit, in my opinion. The way he refuses to stay down. He was determined to win this belt. That's his goal, win this belt. But Kyle Fletcher, with the killer instinct, has stopped him in his tracks many times. But I think the one thing that he had to be more careful with, Kyle Fletcher, was none other than the pile driver. But of course, there was no escaping it, and just like that, Kyle Fletcher actually walked away with the win. Now, our next match, we did see the infantry, Carly Bravo and the captain Sean Dean, taking on Jacoby Watts and Nick Comoroto. Now, I don't know how this is going to roll up. Last time, Jacoby Watts just left Nick Comoroto high and dry, but he did get himself involved in some capacity until he was taken out. But it was, of course, a big-ass splash by the captain all the way to, of course, to Comoroto to pick up the win. So it's no doubt in my mind we could see Infantry as one of the potential tag teams to hopefully get another shot of the ROH World Tag Team titles. Now, Lee Johnson, as you know, recently we did see him not too long ago. He has faced against Kyle Fletcher for the World Television title. So he's asking him for another time. Now, here's the interesting part that I don't know if anybody noticed. Kyle Fletcher showed up with a pair of sunglasses. I'm like thinking, wait a minute. Those are Johnny's sunglasses. So it was him. So, I don't know if anybody noticed, but I did. However, Lee Johnson had a proposal. Give him one last shot of the title, but how about a bigger challenge? A 2 out of 3 falls match. So, of course, Kyle Fletcher was not going to back down because he's proven why he has been the guy to hold this belt. So we'll see that happen. Now, our next match is a Proving Ground match for the ROH Women's World Television title. We have Billy Stark versus Samaya. Now, of course, this match was going to fall to Billy Stark's, which it did. She applied a Swanton Bomb for the win. However, during the post-match, Stir It Up, Red Velvet showed up for payback. Now, Billy Starks thought she was in the clear, but unfortunately, the Queen had something to say. So she tossed her back to Red Velvet, and all hell broke loose. Queen Aminata just enjoyed seeing, of course, Athena's protege getting her butt kicked. But I'm sure Athena is not going to be too happy with how this turned out. But it's just a clear message. Now, our main event, we have a very interesting three-way trios match. We have Griff Garrison and Cole Radrick. They team up with Johnny TV to take on the Iron Savages and Jack Jamison. And then, of course, join the Dark Order. That's right, Evil Uno, Reynolds, and Silver. And they're being accompanied by the Boss, -1. And I have to say the match was pretty good. But the one thing they had to be more careful is not to go to T-City. That's the last thing they needed. But nonetheless, the match was good. But it was the Dark Order who picked up the win when they applied Jack Jamison the Pendulum Bomb. And Silver was the one who picked up the win for his team. Not bad. So practically, that's how it is. And that's how the entire programming ended. So hopefully everybody had a great time. So right now, I think we are officially completely done with all reviews. I believe it's time to do our last and final thing, and that is, of course, news updates. So welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with updates with the promotions themselves, starting with the GCW updates. As you know, on June 14th, we have the Lights Out event in Denver, Colorado. It was already told that Zilla Fatu will be facing against Cole Radrick. That's going to be one hell of a match. Now, as you know, in a previous update, I mentioned that Homecoming is returning to the Atlantic City for a 2-day show on August 24th and August 25th. And I did mention there was no names have been announced. Well, a name has been announced for this particular day, and that is, of course, he's very nice and very evil. That's right, Danhausen. It will be in the house. Now, moving on, as you know, we've been talking about the collaboration between three promotions: West Coast Pro, Deadlock Pro Wrestling, and Prestige for the Untouchable event that'll take place on July 20th. Two more names have been announced, and these guys are the respected champions in these promotions. We have Kevin Blackwood, who is the current West Coast Pro champion, and of course, Alan Angels, the current Prestige Wrestling champion. So it's interesting. And I'm not sure if Calvin Tankman will be in it, but hopefully he is. They need all three champions involved. I mean, what do you guys think? They should. Then, of course, it was later announced we're going to see an East Coast versus West Coast. Las Vegas promotion Future Stars of Wrestling will be head-to-head against House of Glory. So that's going to be fun. Now, no names have been announced yet. This event will take place on the 17th of August. And then finally, as you all know, I mentioned this before, Keno was announced that he will be participating in the upcoming anniversary show from Thailand promotion SetUp. And he will be part of the Kaio Praya voyage that will take place on September 28th. And his opponent is none other than Paksa. I have seen Paksa before, so that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Now, related and somewhat with wrestling promotions, Sareee has already been updated all of us that she will participate in her upcoming events with MARIGOLD for the Summer Destiny that start out this month. She'll be in Korakuen Hall on June 11th. She faces against Victoria Suzuki. Then she'll be on the 15th of June in the KBS Hall, which is in Kyoto. The 16th in Nagoya, and then back to Tokyo for Shinkiba on the 23rd. So yeah, so that's pretty much our updates with the promotions and also schedule with certain wrestlers. Now for our developments, speaking of Sareee, as you know, she had an interesting interview, and certain topics have been, been foretold about. Let me pull that up real quick since I'm reading them. Okay, this is one that they asked, like, about Sareee-ISM, what made her decide to do her own event. And this is what she said. After returning from WWE, it was going to be my first match back in Japan. I was going to become a freelancer when I returned. I wanted to return with freedom and to do what I wanted to do on my own event, which obviously she did. However, they did ask her about Chapter 1, the very first event, which I never reviewed. I don't know if I did, but I did have it on a special episode somewhere. But I'll see if I can find it and link it up to you guys. No promises. No promises whatsoever, because I forget things. She talks about Chapter 1. When the match was finalized until before the match, I was very confident. I felt I can do my fighting style, but when I had a match against Hashimoto, I felt a big difference between us, the 3-year gap. So basically, she was well aware of the whole thing, but nonetheless, it was perfectly fine. Now, she recently, as you all may have heard, as you know, Starlight Kid gave a firm warning to Azumi about not taking off her mask at all together, which Azumi is determined to do so, and this is what she had to say. Kid might take off her mask because she's prepared for it. If that's what you're saying, then I'm taking it off for you. You know, talking about Kid makes me want to eat omelet rice, so I really wish that she stopped. So basically, it's like she feels like, hey, if you're gonna take off the mask, I'm gonna do it. Like she feels it has to be her to do it. But I feel the kid feels like it's her choice to decide when, not on Azumi's time. That's the thing that kind of goes out. Now, you may you may have heard recent developments going around. Dave Meltzer reports about something interesting. Now, we have seen the Forbidden Door and we think it's awesome and all that, but there was a quick drawback that kind of screwed things up for many fans. One of those is that we never saw Penta, his brother Phoenix, Roosh, because the thing is, these guys were in fact with AAA, and that kind of puts it in a perspective because AAA has no relations with New Japan Pro Wrestling, only CML. So that was probably the main reason. However, it was reported by Dave Meltzer that some things have to be changed about it. That because apparently, recently, if you guys saw, we saw wrestlers who used to be in AAA and CML in the same programming. So we just saw that. And this is what um, Dave Meltzer said. Yeah, Tony said that they have been pretty much worked it out. So that means that the Forbidden Door, that Roosh and Ray Phoenix and these guys can appear. Money can, guess we are, money talks, I guess. After a while, you get relationships. He really been a good partner for New Japan, and he's been trying to be a good partner for CML. But I guess CML got less stubborn as they're trying to expose their guys in this country. I'll make more sense for them. I mean, CML guys are getting more and more work in this country, and they even talk CML are trying to show in this country. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I don't think they'll do it on their own. But time will tell. So basically, they want to expose more of their guys in CML, which is very interesting. So it seems like things are working out well because, of course, they don't want these guys to interact, but something has come to change. So we'll see. Now, you may have heard recently, it was told that Penta El Zero Miedo's contract with AEW is soon will be expiring somewhere in August and September. I'm sure there's been fans that are kind of hoping that he stays, but we did hear that WWE are very interested in him, so it would make sense. But we'll see what happens. Now, speaking of contract signings, as you know, Dijak, his contract was expiring with WWE real soon. Fightful Select reports that he and WWE, including his agency, are working out the negotiation. So we'll see what happens. Now, recently, Saya Kamitani was, in fact, recently on Tokyo Sports, talked about she is the leader of she is the leader of Queen's Quest and she plans to grow the faction. However, she does note that she's going to change the landscape of Stardom. So that's kind of interesting. And of course, the article adds that she is keeping an eye on Rian, who is the current rookie who's not affiliated. We know that Mina Shirakawa and Waka are trying to convince her to join. So we'll see. They do have former friends and others to join the faction potentially. So we know that Kamitani wants Momo. But Kamitani remains interested in having Momo Watanabe return to Queen's Quest. But however, Azumi is a bit hesitation towards that. Now, I don't blame Azumi. Don't forget, Momo was the one who whacked her with the chair a couple of years ago to to betray Queen's Quest. And I think that's the thing that Azumi hasn't forgotten. But we'll see what happens until then. So that's pretty much it what we have for our news updates and everything else. It's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have NXT Level Up and AEW Rampage. That's going to be a lot of fun. So I haven't decided yet what we're going to do. Right now, I'm trying to find the right timing to do, in fact, the next DWZ discussion. And this one is about a Starlight Kid, about can she be successful without her mask? That's something we've been talking about. and the next Unagi Sayaka watch will be releasing soon. So stand by for those two as well. But as for our next episode, the plan is AEW Rampage and NXT Level Up. But if we do have time for more reviews, we'll go for it. So that's how I'm leaving it at this moment. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.